Welcome to ZoomInData, your go-to channel for in-depth Azure Cloud, Serverless, and modern development interview preparation. In this video, we dive deep into the top 25 Azure Functions Durable Functions interview questions for 2026. Perfect for developers, architects, and anyone preparing for AZ-204 certification or building reliable, stateful, long-running serverless workflows. We cover orchestration basics, activity functions, client starters, entities, replay, determinism, patterns, fan-out, fan-in, human interaction, critical section, timers, error handling, versioning, scaling, task hubs, eternal orchestrations, debugging, cost management, and best practices, all explained in clear, interview-ready technical language to help you confidently ace your next interview. 1. What is a service bus trigger? A service bus trigger is an event-driven trigger that automatically invokes a function whenever a new message arrives in an Azure Service Bus queue or topic subscription. It enables reliable, enterprise-grade message processing with support for sessions, transactions, duplicate detection, and advanced retry policies. Supports both queue, point-to-point, and topic, subscription, publish-subscribe, patterns for decoupled, scalable messaging. Ideal for mission-critical workflows requiring ordered processing, guaranteed delivery, and complex routing scenarios. 2. How does Service Bus Queue Trigger work? Service Bus Queue Trigger polls the configured queue for visible messages using long polling, up to 60 seconds, for low latency. When a message is received, it is locked, visibility timeout equivalent, and passed to the function for processing. On successful execution, message is automatically completed, deleted. On failure, lock expires and message reappears for retry. Uses peak lock pattern with automatic lock renewal during long-running processing. 3. Explain Service Bus Topic, Subscription Trigger. Topic, Subscription Trigger monitors a specific subscription under a Service Bus topic for messages matching filter rules. Enables publish-subscribe pattern where multiple subscribers, functions, can receive copies of the same message. Supports SQL-like filters on message properties or content for conditional delivery. Same processing semantics as queue trigger, lock, complete, abandon, defer, dead letter. 4. What is the difference between queue and topic triggers? Queue trigger processes messages in point-to-point mode, one consumer per message. Topic, subscription uses publish-subscribe, multiple subscribers per message. Queue trigger is simpler and cheaper. Topic, subscription supports filtering, multiple delivery, and fan-out scenarios. Both support sessions and transactions. Topic, subscription adds subscription-level filtering and rules. Queue trigger for task queues. Topic, subscription for event broadcasting and decoupling. 5. How do you configure sessions in Service Bus Triggers? Enable sessions by setting requires session equals true on the Service Bus queue or subscription in Azure Portal or ARM template. Function processes messages with the same session ID sequentially on a single instance. Use session ID property when sending messages to group-related messages for ordered processing. Release session explicitly using message receiver. Close session async or let timeout expire. 6. Explain lock duration and auto-complete. Lock duration is the initial time a message remains locked after being received. Default 30 seconds, max 5 minutes. Autocomplete automatically completes, deletes, message on successful function execution. Lock is automatically renewed during long-running processing until completion or failure. If lock expires before completion, message reappears for retry. Configure longer lock duration for long functions. 7. How do you handle poison messages in Service Bus? Poison messages are messages that repeatedly fail after max delivery count, default 10. Service Bus automatically moves failed messages to dead letter queue after max delivery attempts. Dead letter queue stores messages with reason, max delivery count exceeded, for inspection. Monitor dead letter queue for manual resolution, replay, or automated cleanup. 8. What is max concurrent call setting? Max concurrent calls controls maximum number of concurrent message processings per function instance, default 16. Configured via function, JSON or Service Bus trigger attribute, max concurrent calls. Higher values increase throughput but consume more memory and CPU per instance. Recommended tuning, 4 to 32 depending on message processing complexity and instance size. 9. How do you enable sessions for ordered processing? Enable sessions on Service Bus entity, queue, subscription, via portal or ARM template. Requires session equals true. Set session id when sending messages to group-related messages for ordered delivery. Function processes all messages with same session id sequentially on single instance. Release session explicitly or let idle timeout expire, default 5 minutes. 10. Explain prefetch count optimization. Prefetch count determines how many messages are fetched ahead of time into function instance buffer, default 0. Higher prefetch improves throughput by reducing round trips. Too high causes memory pressure and uneven load. Recommended, 20 to 100 for high throughput scenarios, 0 for strict ordering. Configured via host, JSON, Service Bus, section or Service Bus trigger attribute. 11. How do you handle dead letter queues? Dead letter queue automatically receives messages after max delivery count or explicit dead letter action. Access via Service Bus namespace, inspect reason, in queue time, and dead letter reason. Implement separate function to process dead letter queue for recovery or alerting. Monitor dead letter queue length and set alerts on non-zero count. 12. What is the difference between basic and premium Service Bus tiers? Basic tier supports simple queues, topics without sessions, transactions, or duplicate detection. Premium tier adds sessions, transactions, duplicate detection, partitioning, and higher throughput. Premium required for session-enabled queues used in ordered processing. Premium offers better performance and SLAs for enterprise messaging. 13. How do you scale Service Bus triggers? Service Bus trigger scales out based on message backlog and processing rate across instances. Multiple instances process different messages, or sessions, in parallel for higher throughput. Scale in when backlog decreases. Scale out when messages accumulate. Premium plan pre-warmed instances reduce scaling latency for bursty messaging. 14. Explain Service Bus trigger in consumption plan. Consumption plan uses polling with dynamic scaling from 0 instances when messages arrive. Supports same trigger configuration as premium. Subject to cold starts and execution timeout, 10 minutes. Cost effective for sporadic workloads. Premium preferred for latency-sensitive scenarios. Scaling driven by message volume and processing rate. 15. How do you debug service bus triggers locally? Use local service bus emulator, preview, or real namespace for local development. Send test messages using Azure Portal, SDK, or Service Bus Explorer. Func start runs trigger on message arrival. Breakpoints hit in debugger. Logstream captures message receipt, lock, and processing flow in real time. 16. What is the role of message receiver? Message receiver is the underlying client used by Service Bus Trigger to receive and manage messages. Handles lock acquisition, renewal, completion, abandonment, and deferral operations. Provides low-level control when using imperative binding or custom processing. Automatically managed by trigger runtime in declarative scenarios. 17. How do you handle message deferral? Message deferral postpones message processing by moving it to deferred queue with sequence number. Use message receiver. Defer message async to defer with optional reason. Later retrieve deferred message using sequence number when ready to process. Useful for delayed processing or out-of-order message handling. 18. Explain abandon, complete, defer operations. Complete marks message as successfully processed and removes it from queue. Abandon releases lock and makes message visible again for immediate retry. Defer moves message to deferred state for later retrieval by sequence number. All operations available via message receiver in imperative binding or custom code. 19. How do you monitor service bus message counts? Azure Monitor metrics provide active message count, dead letter message count, and scheduled message count. Application Insights tracks function invocation count and backlog indirectly. Service bus namespace metrics show per queue, topic message counts. Set alerts on high active message count or dead letter growth. 20. What is the max delivery count? Max delivery count is the maximum number of times a message can be delivered before moving to dead letter queue, default 10. Configurable per queue, subscription in Service Bus Entity Settings. Exceeding count automatically dead letters message with reason max delivery count exceeded. Monitor dead letter queue after reaching limit for recovery. 21. How do you handle large messages? Service Bus supports up to 1 megabyte, standard tier, or 100 megabytes, premium tier, per message. Use reference pattern. Store large data in blob and pass reference in message. Function downloads from blob using reference for processing. Compress message payload or split into multiple messages when possible. 22. Explain Service Bus Trigger in Isolated Worker Model. Isolated Worker Model fully supports Service Bus triggers with identical configuration and execution behavior. Worker process handles message polling and processing independently for better isolation. Improved dependency management and flexibility with .NET 8+. Configuration via host, JSON and app settings remains consistent. 23. How do you secure service bus connections? Prefer managed identities or SAS tokens instead of connection strings for secure access. Use private endpoints to secure service bus namespace within virtual network. Restrict namespace firewall to allow only function app outbound traffic. Assign least privilege roles, Azure Service Bus Data Receiver, to identity. 24. How do you test service bus triggers? Local development uses Service Bus Emulator, Preview, or real namespace for testing. Send test messages using Azure Portal, SDK, or Service Bus Explorer. Func start runs trigger on message arrival. Debug with breakpoints. Integration tests validate session handling, poison queue, and retry behavior. 25. Best practices for Service Bus Trigger Design. Implement idempotency to handle duplicate messages safely in distributed environments. Use sessions for ordered processing. Configure dead letter queue and max delivery count. Tune prefetch count, max concurrent calls, and batch size for optimal throughput. Monitor message counts, dead letter queue, and processing latency. Set alerts on anomalies. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you prepare for your Azure Functions interview, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your network. Don't forget to subscribe to ZoomInData and hit the bell icon for more in-depth cloud computing, serverless, and Azure interview prep videos every week. Drop your questions or topic requests in the comments. Let's zoom in on your success together.